morning for our webinar on Medicaid managed care enrollment, the process overview. I am joined by some colleagues from OASAS. My name is Meg Beyer. I work with the Managed Care Technical Assistance Center, and we are happy to deliver this webinar this morning. Just a few points in logistics before we get kicked off, and I pass over the presenter capabilities to our OASAS colleagues. This webinar is being recorded, so the slides and the recording are both going to be available on the MCTAC website within the next couple days. We would recommend, if you have questions, to please chat them in throughout the course of the webinar. If you look to the right-hand side of your screen, there is a chat box functionality. We ask that you chat your questions in throughout the webinar. We are going to save questions until the end of the webinar, and we are going to keep questions on topic, so we will be answering questions that are related to the Medicaid managed care enrollment process, in particular for OASAS designated Title 14, Part 820 residential treatment programs. So with that, I want to welcome everyone and thank you again for joining. And I am going to pass this over to Ileana Meltzer to get us started.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Meg. Good morning, everyone. This is Ileana Meltzer from OASAS. Welcome. And together with my colleague Benjamin Honeycutt from Maximus, we'll be walking folks through what is going to be a new Medicaid managed care expedited enrollment process for a subset of those individuals that are receiving services within the OASAS Part 820 residential designated programs. By the conclusion of today's call, people should hopefully be aware of what the expedited enrollment process is, which individuals it applies to, phone calls they need to make to activate it, the effective date, and the type of information that the program will need to have at hand when speaking with the Maximus call center representative in order to process the enrollment. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, what we're talking about is we'll also have a moment where we'll just refresh everybody's memory about the general Medicaid enrollment choice number, because as I said, the expedited enrollment process will apply to a certain subset of individuals, but not the entire universe of folks receiving services at the 820 programs. So it'll be important to have an understanding of both of the enrollment numbers and which population it applies to. Additionally, what I'm hoping is that on the call today we have individuals who are working with programs that have already gone through and are designated as an OASAS Part 820 residential redesign program. Additionally, as we know, programs that are currently OASAS certified medically monitored programs or OASAS 819 chemical dependence residential programs will, if you have not already submitted a designation application, are in the process of preparing to do so, so this information is very important for you to know as well. So again, welcome to everybody for joining. Glad to have you. Next slide, please. So as a reminder, OASAS is in the process of working with its residential programs to transition them into the Part 820 model. And as part of that process, we have three different types of provider groups that are going to be transitioning to 820. So those are the groups that are in your 819 residential redesign programs that are going to be going to 820, and you have your medically monitored. So both those classifications of providers will be or already have submitted applications to be designated as an OASAS Part 820 residential redesign program. Next slide, please. So what this means for individuals receiving services in the 820 programs is designation as an OASAS residential 820 program impacts a few things related to programs' relationships with Medicaid managed care companies and the associated managed care enrollment process. Previously, the OASAS 819 programs were not included in the Medicaid managed care benefit package. Additionally, individuals receiving services in those program types were exempt from enrollment in Medicaid managed care. Also, for the medically monitored programs, the service was not included in the Medicaid managed care benefit package. As those service types convert through the designation process to an OASAS Part 820 residential program, the relationship with the managed care companies changes, specifically because 820 services in the stabilization and the rehabilitation element are included in the Medicaid managed care benefit package as a required service. Also, individuals in the 820 programs must enroll in a Medicaid managed care program. So that's different from how it worked before. So previously, individuals receiving services in residential programs were not enrolled in a Medicaid managed care program, they were exempt. And the service was not paid at all through the Medicaid managed care companies. Where we are now is within the 820 process, the individuals will be enrolling in a Medicaid managed care company, and that service will be included within the Medicaid managed care benefit package. So it was important for us to reach out to the programs and talk a little bit about the Medicaid managed care enrollment process. Next slide, please. I'd like to pause for a moment and just remind everyone that because we received approval from the federal government to include 820 services in the Medicaid managed care benefit package, the payment for that is now running through the managed care companies and is not reimbursed through Medicaid fee-for-service. So again, that's where the connection to the Medicaid managed care company becomes critical. So what we needed to do was have a conversation with Maximus and the Department of Health about facilitating access to individuals who were not already in a Medicaid managed care program but were receiving services in the 820 program. So as we talked a little bit about it, there are two separate processes, and in a moment I'll transition to Ben, where there's a general enrollment process that will apply for most individuals receiving services in the 820 program. However, there's also a newly developed targeted expedited enrollment process for those individuals who are coming to the program at a particular time in the month to facilitate getting them into a managed care company in a more expedited fashion. So Ben, let me shift to you.
Thanks, Ileana. Can you switch to the next slide, please? All right, thank you very much. Real quick before I launch into this, for those of you who aren't familiar with Maximus, we contract with the government and the state of New York to enroll Medicaid recipients into managed care plans. That's what we do. We've done it for, probably 18 years. And are happy to be here to help with facilitating this process. As a regular course of business, we enroll folks into managed care plans. And starting on June 1st of this year, for those folks in the 820 programs that qualify, we've set up an expedited process. And just so you have sort of a level set and a baseline of what that means is that on a regular basis, on the third Thursday of every month, so that would be for the month of June, that would be on the 21st, a pull down happens. And what happens is everybody who calls in after that date gets a enrollment effective date of the following month. So instead of getting a July 1st effective date, you would get an August 1st effective date if you called after the 21st and you didn't say, hey, I want to expedited disenrollment, or expedited enrollment, sorry. So this expedited enrollment process is very important in terms of getting your clients those enrollments for the first of the next month. Now, if you like, you can, and if the situation warrants it, not request that expedited enrollment, and you'll get the following month enrollment. But if you need that expedited disenrollment after the 21st of the month, you can call a special number that we've set up. The normal number to call is our 1-800-505-5678, and then the next, if we could go to the, hold on, I got a message here. Yeah, thank you. The regular number is 800-505-5678, and the expedited disenrollment is 888-939-3678. So the 505 number, as I said before, is our general enrollment number, where we take information about, we give out information about Medicaid managed care, talk about enrollments and disenrollments, transfers, exemptions, exclusions, and then after the third Thursday of each month, if you want that expedited enrollment, you call the 888-939-3678 number. All right. Let's go to the next slide, please. Hello? Oh, thank you. So there's a three-step process to this, and this is in order to help facilitate that expedited disenrollment. Before you make any phone calls or gather any information, your staff are going to speak to the recipient about the enrollment process, letting them know the availability of the expedited enrollment option if they want that first of the next month enrollment. Your staff need to advise the recipient that the process is available and educate them about Medicaid managed care and the selection and select a Medicaid managed care plan. So before you call the number, do some thinking with your recipient about what plan they want to go into. The staff can also work with the consumer or their local district representative to call the Maximus number, which is the 505 number, and then when they call again, let them know that hey, if it's after that third Thursday of every month, that you want that expedited enrollment. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so the next one, this next step is prior to placing the call, you're going to collect some information. So when you call us, you have all the information ready to give our CSRs, our customer service representatives. You need to have their SIN ready, their client identification number, your Program 820 name and address, and this is very important, and in the next step you'll see why. And then a list of plans that that your program is contracted with. Hopefully, by that time you'll have sort of matched up the streams, and your recipient will have chosen one plan. But if you want to explore different options, then having the ones that are affiliated with your 820 facility will be very helpful. Okay, next slide, please. All right. So step 3, when you call in, the 888-939. Actually, there's one. Okay, 3678 number. You're going to call with the representative on the line. You're going to call with your representative on the line and place a conference call to that 888-939-3678 number. And then what's going to happen when you call that number is that the customer service representative will obtain consent. It's actually verbal consent with the consumer or the recipient on the phone to verify demographic information, and they'll ask you to put the recipient on the line real quick just to verify some information. And this is all part of our HIPAA and verification process. It's for everybody's protection. The next thing that will happen is that the 820 facility representative will explain, and this is critical if you're calling after that third Thursday of each month, that you're requesting access to the expedited enrollment process for a Part 820 service recipient. And those are very, very important words to say. If you don't want to have that enrollment effective the first of the next month, or you don't say this, your enrollment will be effective the first of the following month. So those are sort of your magic words, just letting folks know that you've requested access to the expedited enrollment process for a Part 820 service recipient. And then what's going to happen next is the CSR is going to ask for the name of your 820 facility, and then they're going to confirm that your facility is on the list that we have a link to at the bottom of this slide, and also ask which plans that your 820 facility accepts. The CSR is then going to assist you and the recipient, whichever you feel most comfortable with choosing the plan, and they're going to also educate the consumer about the plan, Medicaid managed care, and primary care provider selection. All right, so next slide, please. So now, again, the timing of the expedited enrollments. Generally, it'll happen within 24 hours. The transaction, once it's done in our system, needs to go up to the state, and then the state needs to process it and put it into the plan files. If you want to verify your plan assignment, you can take a look at MES and eMedNI, the eligibility screens there, and you should be able to see the enrollment. If it's not there in that 24 hours, maybe it was a weekend or a holiday or something else happened, give it another, wait till the end of the day or maybe the next morning if you don't see anything. So internally, we've set up a special override function for you folks. So when you call in after that third Thursday of each month, you'll be able to get that expedited enrollment. And then this process can be done until 12 noon on the last business day of the month. So if you're calling in at the last moment, if you call in before 12 noon, you're going to be fine. But if you call in after, then you're going to get the following month. So that's all I had. There's one slight correction. I think I said it right, but in the slide itself, our regular number is 1-800-505-5678, and the slide says 58. So just wanted to make that quick correction, and that was my oversight. Apologies. All right, back over to you, Ileana.
Great, thanks. So a couple sort of next steps takeaways for programs to think about. Can we go to the next slide, please? So today's presentation is going to be put together in a single standalone document that will be posted to the OASAS Residential Redesign Program. So a recommendation for programs, and we anticipate that'll be posted within the next week, is walk away from today's phone call with the following major takeaway points. That effective June 1st, there is a new Medicaid managed care enrollment process for those individuals that are coming to an 820 program that aren't yet enrolled in a Medicaid managed care plan and are presenting to you after that third Thursday of the month. So it's important to remember that on slide 7 there were 2 phone numbers you need to think about. The first phone number is the one that you're going to be using for most of the individuals that are coming to you not already enrolled into a Medicaid managed care plan. For those individuals that are coming to you on that specific date, so after the third Thursday, that's when you use this expedited enrollment process. The other thing so you've got your June 1st date, you've got your 2 phone numbers. The phone numbers get triggered by when in the month the individual is presenting to the program. You're going to want to talk with staff about the information that they're going to need to have available to them prior to making the phone calls. So different programs are going to set up different processes for assigning who's going to work through that enrollment process, have a way to gather the information that's needed. For those individuals that have not yet gone through the 820 designation process, you're at a great point to have this information so you're able to prepare for it as part of your transition into the 820 programs. Also, I'd like to note to folks that on that OASAS Residential Redesign General Information page, and this is for those programs that are on the call that may not have already gone through the designation process, there are other guidance documents on that page related to the actual process of claim submission for either the stabilization or rehabilitation treatment component to the Medicaid managed care plan. Today's presentation was not about the mechanics of claiming, but if you're someone coming new to the process and you're listening to this, I could see how that would be a natural question. So I would recommend that you take a look at both the provider and the plan guidance documents related to the mechanics and data elements of actual claim submission. So again, for today's phone call, it's important that individuals heard that date, the effective date that's coming up for the implementation of this new expedited enrollment process, that the expedited enrollment process applies to a subset of those individuals receiving services in the 820 program, that there are certain pieces of information that the program would have to have at the ready when they're working with the call center representative, and that the expedited enrollment process applies to Part 820 designated programs. Finally, there is also the opportunity, if you've got questions after today's webinar, please submit them to the Pick'em mailbox. That's included on slide 12, last bullet, and we'll work through answering those questions back. So the guidance will be produced into a single document that will be posted on the residential redesign page. We will be posting the recording of this WebEx as well as the related slides. So I'm just going to quick ask Meg if there are, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box, is that correct? Oh, okay. I see one.
You see one, go right ahead. We've gotten some in the back end, and they're getting emailed to you as we speak. So if you want to answer that one question you can see, go for it. The other questions are on their way to you.
So there is a question about Medicaid managed care, which will the recipient be enrolled in the managed care plan in the county in which they are in treatment? I'm going to need to look back on that unless, Ben, do you know the answer to that one?
As long as the plan serves their area, absolutely. So,
okay.
So when you're looking at the 820, the plans that serve your facility, just make sure if they're serving your facility, just confirm that they serve your county. But if it's most likely that they will, but I would just confirm.
Okay, thank you. And then Meg, I've got the other questions that are coming in. So the first
they were talking about Medicaid.
So the first question is, can this expedited enrollment process be utilized before the third Thursday. So that's where so the short answer is no. So that's where the expedited enrollment process is for those individuals that come in after that third Thursday, excuse me. And that's related to how the enrollment rosters work. The next one is the question is when you say we need to tell them which plan, it would be the plan that the provider has a contract with. So so I'm going to reframe the question a little bit. Yes, the 820 programs will have contracts with different Medicaid managed care companies. So it's possible that a program would have a contract with several different Medicaid managed care companies. And that's where working with the Maximus call center representative becomes important to help the person decide which plan makes the most sense for them. So that's where the enrollment education process comes in. So it's possible that the potential enrollee would have the ability to select from several plans depending on which ones the program is contracted with. Ben, did you want to add anything to that?
Nope, that's great.
Okay. And then,
Ileana, I would add one thing to the question about the override. Just to the enrollments that are done from the first of the month until the third Thursday of each month are all effective for the next month. So, you know, the expedited disenrollment, or I'm sorry, expedited enrollment process happens after the 21st, and that's to get you that effective for the first of the next month. So if you enroll somebody between the first and the third Thursday of each month, you're going to get that enrollment for the first of the next month as long as everything clears.
Great, thank you. There's also a question just confirming what the effective date of this will be, and that's June 1st is when the policy goes into place. And then, let's see. Okay, the other question is the subset of clients. Sounds like all 820 participants who are not currently enrolled in managed care. So again, that's clarifying the information. When I say subset, what I'm referring to is on slide 7, there's the 2 rows that talk about which phone number to call based on when the enrollment conversation is happening with the enrollee. So the expedited enrollment phone call is used for that subset of folks that are presenting and having a conversation after the third Thursday. The rest of the group would use that top number. And let's see, what else? Got some more questions in here?
Mm-hmm.
And then there is just a general question. Ben, can you talk a little bit about using eMedNI for the purposes of affirming which plan the individual is enrolled in when it is being done through the expedited enrollment number?
Confirm. So we do the transaction in our system, and then that transaction goes up to eMedNI, and eMedNI interfaces with WMS, and we get a transaction back from eMedNI via WMS, telling us that you're enrolled. And then on your end, you would check the screens you have access to in Meds and eMedNI to verify that that transaction was successful.
Thank you. Then there was a question about if a patient wants to transfer or choose a different plan. So if the person comes in with they're enrolled in Ileana's plan and they want to switch to Ben's plan, could the expedited process apply? I think we'll need to take that one back. I'm not sure about the plan transition from one to the others. So let's take that one back. And that actually, as I'm thinking it through, that's a good FAQ that we can actually add to the guidance document for the providers. And then, let's see, what else is there? Ben, are you able to speak a little bit to the role of certified navigators? Is that something you're familiar with?
Not on this end.
Okay, all right. So for the individual who asked about the certified navigators, we'll look to see if we can get some information about that. Then there was a question if this applies to the RRSY programs. The answer to that is no. And let's see. And it sounds like Meg is typing in one more set of questions coming in.
That's right, Ileana. They're right on their way to you.
All right, so if folks can just hang on one second. Here's the next set. Okay, so there's a question in there about the 820 program being reimbursed through the Medicaid managed care companies. And currently for Medicaid service recipients, this is running through the Medicaid managed care companies and is not a Medicaid fee-for-service benefit, and that's because we have the authority for this particular program type through the federal 1115 waiver. We do not yet have state plan authority for it. Let's see. And then there was a question about this is coming from an 819 program that is in transition to an 820. First off, welcome. Very glad you're on the call. And yes, you are correct. This process only applies right now for the individuals that are in the designated 820 program. And let's see, Meg's got another one coming in. Will CACs. There's a question about CACs. Would whomever asked that question spell out CAC? That's an acronym I'm not familiar with. And then we can circle back.
So, Ileana, I can actually read one question that we just got, if that might be helpful. And I think you may have said this earlier, but someone is asking when the provider guidance is going to be posted.
Oh, sure. The provider guidance within the week.
Thank you.
All right. And let's see. And then there's a question, and Ben, this may be a question for you. If not, we'll circle back, is can the expedited process be used for recertification in managed care? So the term recertification is making me wonder about that question. So
yeah, I can answer that.
Great.
In terms of what I know recertification to be. So in my mind, recertification means eligibility. And we don't do eligibility. We're focused on enrolling folks into Medicaid managed care. For eligibility, you need to go to your LDSS.
Okay.
For Medicaid.
Yep, thank you. And then I hear Meg slowing down on the typing, so.
Yes, I have two more that are on their way to you, and then I think we're slowing down.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Okay. And one question I can actually ask, so one of the questions is for some of these questions that are coming in that we are not able to answer on the WebEx today, how can people expect to follow up and hear the answers?
Yeah.
And go ahead. Sorry, Ileana, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, I think what we're going to do is the questions are the unanswered questions seem to be categorizing themselves into two different things. Those that are appropriate for inclusion in the expedited enrollment process document, and that those that we will embed into the provider guidance document that's already on the OASAS web pages. So we'll do it that way, and then that'll be available to everybody through those OASAS residential redesign pages. So there's some stuff that is more appropriate to include in a final guidance document, and then there's other things that are outside the scope of this particular topic that'll go into that provider guidance document.
Great. And we got clarification around the acronym CAC. And so I think the person was asking, the CAC are Certified Application Counselors, so they're the navigators for the New York State of Health. I don't know if that helps clarify the question, but we were able to get additional information.
Ben, does that clarify for you, or do we need to circle back on that?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. The New York State of Health, we do run the exchange. However, it's out of a different project. So we could get the answer to that one for them.
Great.
And then the last and final question is, does this affect the lock-in period? Will the client be permitted to change insurances during this lock-in? So I understand the concept of locking. It's, you know, once you choose, there's a small period where you can unchoose and then you're locked in. I don't envision this changing that lock-in period. Ben, do you?
No. For Medicaid managed care, you have 3 months to make up, to change, and then for 9 months you're locked into the plan.
So, okay. All right, so let's, so our next steps are going to be as follows. We'll take the questions that we got from today that will help make that guidance document even more robust. We'll embed those in there. Those that were a little bit more outside of that but useful for the plan, for the provider guidance document, we'll put them in there. And then that should go up within the week, and MCTAC is going to post the recorded WebEx to their site, and if folks have additional questions afterwards, please submit them to the Pick'em mailbox. So with that, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. Submit any additional questions you have. In particular, I'd really like to thank our partners at Maximus for helping us work on this individual issue. It was in response to requests from the programs, so we were glad to be able to come to a resolution and provide the expedited enrollment process. And thank you everybody much for your time.
Thanks, Ileana. Take care.
Okay, bye now.